We're all looking for those players to stash on our rosters, to have on the back end, especially that IR slot. Today, we're going over 10 players who are on the PUP, who should be back in 5 weeks or so to begin their season, that you can have stashed in your IR spot. So when they come up, you got a free chip there that you can roll with. You don't have to fight with off waivers if you really want the player. If you don't want the player, if they don't come back, guess what? Nothing really lost because they're sitting at the free square spot, the IR spot. Think of the IR spot as a free square option for your fantasy team if you can work the rules around it to stash that player there. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're covering these players every day. We're going to be looking at the waiver wire every day to help you find them gems off the waiver wire, covering advanced metrics and the recent trends. We're doing deep dives on these players, deep dives on the guys climbing the depth chart, guys falling down the depth chart, and the guys who are on top of those waiver wire rankings, so you can learn about those players. We're helping you set your lineups with these videos and everything else. Click that button, stop missing out. So the injury report at the top is kind of expensive. Some of these guys are still drafted, but you may want to kick the tires too. Nick Chubb was drafted in a lot of leagues. People were scared not to draft him, especially after we saw him squat damn near 600 pounds, but still a guy for the IR spot. So really thinking in motion over the next few weeks. If you got a player scoring 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 points per game, he's not in your opponent's or your league mate's IR spot, just chilling, taking over a roster spot, then you may want to make that trade, deal that ancillary jabroni, get you Nick Chubb, and then throw him in the IR spot. Maybe you want to do that. He should be in the IR spot. He's rostered in 82% of leagues. But throwing that out there just in case, because I've handled some crazy questions about guys falling like 5 rounds later they should be in drafts. And that could be the option for you. Nyheim Hines could be a guy you may want to put in your IR spot. I don't totally recommend this because there's a lot of competition here. But what if something happens to Nick Chubb? What if his rehab's not good enough for him to come back this season? Nyheim Hines steps in, and maybe down the line, week 6, 7, 8, he's back catching a few balls per game, and he's doing enough to get you by because running backs are decimated with injuries, and you got him as a free square. Jonathan Brooks, ultimate IR running back right now. He's rostered in damn near every league. He's actually rostered in less leagues than Nick Chubb, though. We need to remedy that. But he should be in your IR spot. I've heard a lot in my comment section. He's rostered in a lot of IR spots. Not worried about this, but the ultimate guy to have in your IR spot, because we know when he comes back, he's going to do big things and get a lot of opportunity. Keaton Mitchell is a guy that's hanging out on the waiver wire. And when I talk about Keaton Mitchell this time last year, and I'm talking about him now, I did a deep dive on him a few days ago. Many people don't understand the injury reserve spot on their team, and moving that player coming back from injury, sitting on the PUP, who could come back or not come back, in their free square spot. You put this guy off the waiver wire and you slide him in your free square spot. You got to drop somebody. Maybe you strategize that for when waivers hit. You got 2 players you don't like, just one you like off waivers. You do a 2 for 2. You throw him in the IR spot and you get another guy off waivers or whatever you want to do. You got Keaton Mitchell here. There's a lot of upside here. Run first offense. Rasheen Ali was not getting it done in preseason and training camp. Derrick Henry's going to get a lot of workload. But the Ravens, for some reason, every year they get decimated with injuries. Maybe he comes back around Halloween time, Thanksgiving time, and he starts seeing touches and snaps. He is the ultimate upside play. We talked about that in his deep dive. Check that out. That was a few days ago. Keaton Mitchell's got a lot of upside. He's good for the IR spot. Kendrick Bourne was seeing a 20% target share last year. You can pick him up off waivers right now, rostering just 5.5% of leagues. He saw 20% of the targets. That will be a free square right there. The team's different now. They brought in 2 rookie wide receivers. The flow of targets is different right now with Pop Douglas and everything else. So do not expect that going forward. But he does have some upside. You don't know what's going to happen when he comes back. There will be a fight off the waiver wire for him, and you will already have him. You can also use him as a throw-in in trades right when he comes back if you want to get rid of him. Deal the player you want to get rid of. Use him as a kicker. See if you can make something happen. If not, if you don't want him anymore, you can always release him. But it's free square for a reason. Free square can never hurt you. Kendre Miller is perfect for the free square. He is perfect for the free square because he's a running back with upside, and he just practiced for a few minutes, hurt his hamstring, hasn't been back. Coaching staff has been hating it. He hasn't been out in training camp. He hasn't been out there in preseason. They're upset with that, but he's got good size, good speed, good athleticism. And if this backfield breaks down, and he's back from the PUP, back from IR, guess what? You got yourself a running back with upside, and if he's getting touches, you can just pray that it turns into fantasy production. But again, this is the type of player that's great for the free square. He's available in most leagues, and he's got a lot of upside due to that juice in his game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's just in the Chiefs offense, rostered in about 10% of leagues, and the fact that he's on the Chiefs offense and could come back anywhere down the line could be the guy that could help you out, and you got him in the free square spot. And I talked to somebody the other day, and they're saying, hey, I'm just loading up my IR spot. My IR section, I'm just putting these guys in there, and I'm loading them up. I didn't tell them to do that, and guess what? That is what you should be doing right now. Don't worry about the name. Don't worry about what they did the last few years. Just take them as a free square, and when they get promoted, you don't like the situation, you want to move on, guess what? Just do it. It ain't going to hurt you. It ain't going to do anything. That's why it's called a free square. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, since he's with the Chiefs, since there's opportunity in this offense, since running backs get hurt, so maybe something happens to Pacheco and P. Ryan or something like that, you might be looking at him. I'm not excited about it, but you might be looking at him. Odell Beckham. The thing about him, he was seeing a good ADOT last year in Baltimore, 13.9 average depth of target, getting targets deep downfield, seeing about a 16% target share, and had 2 wide receiver 1 weeks. That's half the wide receiver 1 weeks Brandon Ayuk got last year. And a lot of other wide receivers that are higher up in the rankings, ranked as the 114th best wide receiver per ADP on Underdog Fantasy. And he's a free square. Rostered in 4% of leagues, and he's with the Dolphins, a faster-paced offense. I don't expect him to do anything. This isn't a video to expect players to do something. This is a video to let you know that there's players out there that can just roster for the hell of it to see what happens. As a free square, Odell Beckham isn't 100% done. He showed some life last year, and he's with the offense right now that could give him a little bit of extra juice. But again, injury history galore with this guy. TJ Hockenson is rostered. He better be rostered in your league. He's rostered in just 78.5% of leagues. Somebody here watching this video is watching me talk about TJ Hockenson with him on the waiver wire. That is what that is saying. TJ Hockenson, though, tons of upside. At 23.9% target share at the tight end position, you're catching him in round 13 in underdog drafts. He's going to be back somewhere middle of the season, latter part of the season, and the fact that you can catch that target share, maybe he's not back to full health, maybe he's just playing at like 85 to 90% of himself, but 85 to 95% of himself is usually a tight end 1. Same thing with Tyler Higbee, same injury, he's not ranked, he's not getting drafted, but a tight end with some upside. 4 tight end 1 weeks last year, and also 4 games in double-digit PPR fantasy production. He could really hammer that down for you. A guy that you can lock in that IR spot, see what happens with. If you don't like it, you can always drop him. The tight end position, you don't have to be as aggressive for. I would go after more of those running backs. Keaton, Mitchell, Kendre, Miller, those guys with a lot of juice and upside who's not really being rostered. Some of those wide receivers you can play money ball with off the waiver wire throughout the season, but those running backs with juice, usually when they're in line for opportunity, people go nuts over. So even if you don't like that player, you can also use them as a package in your trade to see if you can get a little bit more. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.